Wagwan guys, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. I cannot complain myself. Kind of an interesting video surrounding Chris Brown. People have reserved feelings for him regarding previous and certain circumstances that he was involved in. You know, dating back to Karrueche, Rihanna, and wasn't really highly noted, but the mother of his children, his baby moms, and still a very influential person. But most importantly, what I'm saying is he was on tour, right? And I'll get into that stuff, but he was on tour, and this went viral earlier this week. Right, he grabs a fan up on stage, and just, people do this type of stuff. Usher, he has like a performative, show where it's interactive with him and the crowd, and like he's feeding them strawberries, and right, so you can kind of get that take. But obviously this person, pays to attend Chris Brown concert because she's a fan and she's interested in seeing him. So to some degree of that, right? So obviously what took place is, and I got the video on the loop, he calls a fan up on stage, and they basically, they have this type of interaction where he's dancing and that whole stuff. And they took to social media. I guess they found a young lady on social media, because when you zoom in, you see them engage in a kiss, and it was observed that Chris Brown was the one doing the kissing. Okay, so people were asking why, and why she didn't kiss back. Basically, she was saying, right, she says that maybe like she was trying to be respectful because she thought that he had a girlfriend, right? And people, me paraphrasing it, but yeah, why didn't you kiss him back? And basically, like, the person asking the question is upset. Maybe he has a girlfriend. I want it to be respectful. So, people like Chris Brown. Okay, he's still putting on a show, even though, just being honest, he's getting up in age. He has 3 kids already, about 3 different baby moms, right? And he did not have a kid with Karrueche Tran. Like, if you would this, like, if you follow him closely, but like if people are just, you're peering in every now and again to what's posted on social media, and you're just like basically keeping up with him sparingly, then you wouldn't really know the details. But I would have thought that he had a child with Karrueche, but I think he ended up having a child when he was with her, but not by her. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's where the hard feelings come out with him and her. But then again, I just seen a clip when they were at some type of event together, and she was basically entertaining him to a certain degree, and that's why people were like kind of caught off guard, because she basically had said she wanted nothing to do with the baby drama, but she didn't necessarily say she wanted nothing to do with him. So I understand that part, right? But yeah, like, this, and again too, most recently I think he was arrested in the UK, and apparently he's been released from that arrest. And during that time, you had Odell Beckham kind of show him support, and he's always kind of been, I want to say, maybe like a friend in the media to him. And, just dating back to the, early 2000s, 2010 in his career, NFL career, he's always been public to the media about his support for Chris Brown, right? I don't really see them pictured together, but like back then, maybe like the 2010s, it was a stint in time where they were hanging out kind of tough, you could say, because they were being pictured together. If I can remember, if my memory serves me correctly, I'll say that. But just dating back here to the whole Rihanna situation. What happened in that, just to give you guys an overview, okay? I believe they even went on Oprah, and this was like in 2009. It basically was reported that it was some type of an assault that took place in a car. Chris Brown received 5-year probation, community service, and I think they ended up reconciling their relationship in 2012, right? Somewhere in that time period, they kind of like ended it on good terms, right? No hard feelings. And people felt a way about that. People still feel a way about that, and you can kind of see, just because even prior to that, right? You're talking about Chris Brown, and you're right, and just kind of like what he brought to the table early on, and people just liked his style, right? It's even like, not even looking at his albums, not even going into that, right? But even still to this day, his relevancy to putting out good music and him always being relevant that way, right? People just like that sound and the feel that he brings to the and it's, whether it's a pop, R&B, very versatile, people can like that, right? I remember in that Yo video, right? I remember it was funny, but at that point in time, I think I had it was somebody had said, like you could tell it was a music video because he jumps in the car. He's like dancing, right? And he jumps in the car, and they were, the person that was telling me this, he was being serious, right? He wasn't joking, but it was funny to me because it was like you could tell that this music video is not realistic because nobody just jumps in the car like that. It was hilarious at the time. But listen, right? You have the whole that the Christmas type deal that he had going on. I don't know. I know it was a movie he was in, right? But I'm saying all that to give you guys kind of a background on Chris Brown, which you guys are definitely already familiar with, even more, I would say. But through all of that stuff, he definitely has a family, he has a presence, and he's still putting out music, but he's getting up and to the latter part of his career, right? But even with all that, all that stuff going on, right, in his past, and he's still putting on a good show. Like, I thought that was like, interesting. You seen like his backup dancer, his backup dancer like almost he was about to get buck, and I'm like, oh, what I'm saying? I hope they're not getting buck up there. But anywho, listen, I say that to say, Even him with Danny Lay, I like that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That time period, it was like a short span, but it was definitely fire. It was so fire. You know, hip hop, R&B. It was popping, man. And I don't know if that time period can ever be brought back. And you look at like Danny Lay, right? He had a music video that was with her, and yes, she sings, but she does dance. She can dance very well, and like you see the relevancy, that brought right to her and her situation, and I believe she ends up having a baby by DaBaby, and it was some situation with her brother and him. They end up falling out. Had nothing to do with Chris Brown, of course, but they end up falling out because of that. Her and DaBaby. But you see the relevancy, right? Chris Brown definitely can, he makes situations relevant and people want to talk about them, right? But here's my opinion on this whole situation. Will things taper down? Probably so. But you have people that just, make money off of their performances, and they're going to perform even up until their late age in life. But, the conclusion I can draw from this is, hey, people like it. People like to see it. I think maybe Chris Brown has a little bit of more room to grow, maybe. I'm not too sure. Or mature and whatever artistry you want to label it. Maybe so. But I thought this was an interesting clip, right? He's interacting with a fan. Yeah, okay. You got the backup dancer almost getting buck. Okay. And all of this in totality with his past. All right. I think it's an event. It's a space and time where you can kind of recap on some of that. So appreciate you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Hope to see you guys back here again. Ciao.